This is the rhythm of change. This is the sound of redemption. This is the way that we bring it down. Down, down, 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 down. Igniting the fire within you. Exalting the melody of freedom. These are the things that will bring it down. Down, down, 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 down. So gather the faithful. Tell everyone to stand and shout loud. Shout loud. Shout loud. Let's bring it down. Let's bring it way down. Let's bring it down. Let's bring it down, down. Let's bring it down. Let's bring it way down. Let's bring it down. Let's bring it down, down. Down, down, down.
Let me tell you, it's in the air. Joy is in the air. Love is in the air. Can you feel it? What it feel like? Freedom. What it feel like? Don't sleep on it, brother. You might get left, sister. Can you feel it? What it feel like? Freedom. What it feel like? Justice. No need to be counted, cause I am down. Down, down, down. Down, down, down. Down for the end of racism, for the end of bigotry, cause I am down. For the end of misogyny, that's right. For all the isms out there, just down, down, down. Let's bring it down. Rise up, people. No more foolishness, and let's bring it way down.
Riding the river of change into the cries of contrition. This is the way that we bring it down. Down, down, 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 down. We are the children of Eden, dancing and celebrating freedom. We are the ones that must bring it down. Down, down, 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 down. So gather the faithful. Tell everyone to stand and shout loud. Shout loud. Shout loud. Let's bring it down. Let's bring it way down. Let's bring it down. Let's bring it down, down. Let's bring it down. Let's bring it way down. Let's bring it down. We've got to bring it down. Down. Stand up and shout. Stand up and shout. Rise together.
Accountability starts now. The Eric Dawson Radio Show.
Yeah. Rise up. Stand up, shout it loud.
If you are not prepared to come to that table and to represent that voice, don't come. Because we don't need any more brown faces that don't want to be a brown voice. We don't need black faces that don't want to be a black voice. We don't need Muslims that don't want to be a Muslim voice. We don't need queers that don't want to be a queer voice. And if you're worried about being marginalized and stereotyped, please don't even show up.
at home. The Rona is spreading. The is no joke. It's no time to work or roam. The way you can fight it is simple, my friends. Just stay the at home. Now, technically, I'm not a doctor, but mother listen when I read a poem. So here I am, Sam Jackson, imploring you, keep your ass at home. If you want things to get back to normal, don't panic. Just use your dome. Wash your hands, stop touching your face, and stay the at home. It's no time to gamble. Look around, you're not at a casino. Just stay the home as if your name was Trenton Quarantino. Sure, you can still see your friends. Use the app on your phone. But unless you just ran out of groceries, please stay the at home. Thank you for doing your part to flatten the curve, because that is steep. And now that you're home, please feel free to go to sleep. The end.
Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Eric Dawson Radio Show. I want to try to get right to it if I can today. And one of the things that we're going to focus on today is the economy. If the economy is going to come back by May, and what all that means. Sorry about that. I got my juice over here, my coffee. I got some ginger ale, water. But anyway, thank you guys for tuning in. Hit the share button. Call in number 908-481-5499. So I want to really focus the whole conversation, if we can, or most of it, on whether or not the economy is going to open and what that all means as the government is looking to get folks, and most of them, I was told, received their $1,200 check. And I want to talk about what that all means, whether or not we are in a recession, what has to happen in order for us to get out of a recession, what part you as a consumer is supposed to play in doing that, why they give you the stimulus money in the first place. But I want to have that conversation. I want to also talk about the governor's role in this, right? So Donald Trump in the beginning said that he wanted to open up America, that he wanted to open the economy, let it roar again. We weren't meant to be caged in. We weren't meant to be, closed up. And then you had a lot of the governors step out and they created PACs and they aligned against them and said that they were going to take matters into their own hand. What does that mean? How are each of these governors going to be doing that? In particular, in New Jersey, what are Phil Murphy's plans? And then what are the plans of these local mayors? We know that in Newark they have Be Still Monday. I think that's what it's called, right? And how is that doing for small businesses? The other thing that I want to spend some time talking about is so airlines are asking for relief in this pandemic, in this global economic or national economic disaster. They're asking for relief. Now, the last time they asked for relief and they got it, what did they do? They shafted the consumer, right? Let's go all the way back. Let's talk about the airlines after 9/11. When oil prices were kind of crazy. And so airlines decided that they had to start to charge for everything, including your baggage, right? So for you guys who are too young to realize how the baggage fees really got to where they are, it was because the airline said that the bags weighed down the airplanes, causing them to burn more fuel, and as a result, they needed to increase the price. Well, if the price was tethered to, or the price of your ticket, or the price of the baggage was tethered to the price of gasoline. Well, when the gas prices dropped back down, the airlines did not remove those baggage fees, right? In fact, they increased the baggage fees. And so then the baggage fees just kind of became a vertical, within the airline industry, just another way for them to make money. And so now that same airline is looking for a bailout on taxpayers' backs again. And but a lot of, and I don't know if any of you bought tickets to fly anywhere, and now you can't fly because of certain restrictions, and the airlines are not refunding your money. So my position is this: if the airlines want to be bailed out, I think one, they have to re-look at these baggage fees. Like, the American people, not the politicians, but the American people should be able to bargain with the airline industry. And not just the airline industry, but all of these industries now, right, that need our money. We should be able to bargain and say, well, okay, you want our taxpayer dollars to bail you out. Well, firstly, no buybacks, which is what the airlines did too, right? So they all made a ton of money. And they're not broke. It's just how they spent their money, what they decided to do with their money, how they decided to prioritize their revenue. So they're not broke. They could have saved some money. They could have been prepared for this if they wanted to. It wasn't their interest. And what they believe, as a lot of other industries believe, is that the government doesn't belong to the people, but it belongs to corporations. In particular, belongs to corporations who are willing to pay enough money to have enough lobbyists who are writing policies down in Washington that benefit those corporations. And I think airlines is one of them. And so where there should be major outcry about what the airlines has been doing in terms of fleecing the customer, there should be major outcry by those who are supposed to be our representatives. I wish we would stop calling them or clarify it, right? You could still call them representatives, but let's call them corporate representatives. How you like that? Call them corporate representatives. Say the folks in the House and the Senate are corporate representatives. See, because it says Representative Lindsey Graham or Representative Donald M. Payne Jr., Representative such and such. But it gives the impression, because this is the way that the government is supposed to work, so it gives the impression when we say Representative such and such that they are our representatives. But I think if we codified that language a little more, it would help understand exactly what's going on, right? So if we say Corporate Representative Lindsey Graham, right? Now when he does the things that he does, you're not confused by it. You completely understand because you say he's a corporate representative. Right? And if he's not a corporate representative, and I think that one of the other things that we could do to help codify that language, pardon me, I'm pouring my ginger ale. As we codify the language, we should ask them, do you want to be a corporate representative or do you want to be a people's representative? And here's the criteria for being a corporate representative, and here's the criteria for being a people's representative. If you take money from corporations in excess of whatever the dollar amount is, then you become a corporate representative. If you don't take money, or you take it below that, whatever the agreed upon amount, you are a people's representative. I think that's pretty straightforward, and we would know where people stand. And then when you look at it, right, once we agree to it, once you look at their elect reports, once you look at their donations, then you can say, okay, here are classifications. This one's a corporate representative, this one's a people's representative. And then we know who's on our team. Because right now it's kind of confusing. But anyway, they're fighting now for the airline industry, and these folks are wealthy beyond belief. And they're asking for corporate welfare. They're asking on the backs of taxpayers who need to get $1,200. I want you to understand that. You need, or not you, maybe, but somebody you know needs the $1,200 desperately. And while you're getting just $1,200, which isn't going to do much, they're asking for billions of dollars so that they can continue their parachutes, their million-dollar, multi-million-dollar salaries, and continue to fleece and stick it to the everyday man and woman. Who's screaming about that? Just asking. Anyway. So this stuff, I tell you, I look at the news, I read the news, and I'm saying to myself, my God, who is holding these folks accountable? Who's holding them accountable? Anyway, so on to the recession. And then we'll wrap this into whether the economy is going to open, right? What it's going to look like. But in order to climb out of a recession, you have to have spending, right? You have to have consumers who feel confident, what they call consumer confidence. So you have to believe, like a recession happens when money going into the economy from the consumer end dries up or slows down drastically. So right now, a lot of stores are closing because a lot of people can't go out. And then the people who can go out aren't working, so they don't have an income to be able to do the things that they used to do. So all of those things are leading to a major slowdown. And they don't want to really use the R word, but I think it's fair to say when you look at all the indicators that we're in a recession. And so the only way to get out of a recession is to build consumer confidence. To say to you, hey, you know what? You should go out and buy a TV. Or you should go out and buy a new car. Or you should take a vacation. You should do whatever those things are that you used to do. You should go and do those things. And there are a group of people who are actively starting to drive a narrative to see how you will respond in terms of consumer confidence. Whether or not you'll look at it and say, you know what? Yeah, I should go buy a TV. And yeah, I should go buy a car. Yeah, I should go buy a thing. Now you have I guess you would call them financial literacy coaches and other kinds of folks saying, you know what you should do when you get that $1,200? You should buy groceries. You should try to pay down whatever your most dire bill is. You should take care of that, right? That's housing or your car because you need it to be able to go to get groceries. You take care of that and you take care of your groceries. All of the other spending, you need to table it for now. But if you do that, it will not, the money that is supposed to be stimulus to stimulate the economy, it's not going to do that. This is why they're talking about giving you $2,000 a month now, because they need you to stimulate the economy. Hello, caller. Go.
Good morning, Eric. Hope all is well, my brother. I was just chiming in on the conversation with reference to, what are...
Do you have loss prevention or safety concerns?
I gotta take commercial, though.
Black Belt Security and Investigations has armed and unarmed guards that can protect what is important to you.
I just all my
For security you can count on,
I'm
visit
sorry.
www.bbsillc.com or call
All right.
1-800-493-1859 today.
It's time to turn up the heat in your house or apartment. So here are some fire safety tips from Diane L. Murray Insurance Agency to keep you warm and safe this winter. Don't overload your electrical outlets. Keep flammable items away from fireplaces and space heaters. And put a fresh battery in your smoke detector. Turn to Diane L. Murray Insurance Agency for your home and renter's insurance, or bundle it with your auto insurance and save. Call 908-686-4609 or visit dlminsurance.com today.
BBSI. BBSILLC.com.
Go ahead, Will.
Hey, good morning, Eric. Hope all is well, my brother.
Man,
you know,
hey, Will,
I was just giving.
You know what just happened, man?
Say it again?
I said what just happened, and I'm hoping it's gonna be well. We'll see. Keep your fingers crossed, everybody. I had my coffee, and my coffee spilled, and I'm hoping it did not damage my computer. But we'll see by the end of the show whether it did or not. But go ahead.
What I was just explaining to some of your listeners in Orange today, the mayor, Dwayne Warren, if you're a nonprofit organization assisted through the community during the COVID-19 coronavirus pandemic, you may be eligible for reimbursement of costs through FEMA. The City of Orange Township invites you to attend an online go-to meeting this Friday at 2 o'clock to get more information and or to assistance in applying for reimbursement of funds through this FEMA program. Please join the meeting from your computer, your laptop, your smartphone. You also can dial in using the phone. The number is 1-866-899-4679. Okay, you can do also through video conference call. The dial-in number, type 6721795-2 for income photo, and the meeting ID is 815-716-213, or you can dial it directly at the site where they're going to announce where they can get some assistance, you know, the local businesses here in Orange, and that's the site. And you can go to, for more information, go to Orange, Jersey. That is City of Orange's Facebook page for more information. So that's what's going to happen. It can kick off 2 o'clock. You would probably have to pre-register before 2, but that's what's happening.
Okay, and repeat what is he going to? You may qualify for what again?
Some type of eligibility reimbursement through FEMA within the City of Orange, in reference to nonprofit groups and local businesses. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. That's in Orange or I don't know if it's through the tri-state area, but that's what the mayor is doing today. I think the only businesses in Orange. And that particular funding reimbursement is going to go through FEMA and the City of Orange Township.
Okay. Will, would you do me a favor, man? You're always a wealth of information and letting us know what's going on there in Orange.
Okay.
Would you mind putting that information in the feed as well?
Okay.
That would be helpful for people who tune into the show later and they go to read the comments down the feed. All right?
Okay, I will definitely work on it, and I will post it into your feed and for that information.
Hey, Will,
okay,
let me ask you a question, Will. And I asked this. So the couple things that I talked about before you called. One was the opening of the economy. whether or not
Okay.
you believe it's going to open up by May. Now, what they're saying is now each governor, right? Everybody's clear now. Each governor
Oh, okay.
is going to
Yep.
determine, right, their state's opening, and they can open by county or municipality. So, what do you think is going to happen in New Jersey?
I think what's going to happen in New Jersey, Eric, is, Governor Murphy, he's been, at his daily press. I've been watching it every day since this pandemic is announced. He's got a issue reference to, he says that, well, we're gonna on May 15th, it's in a ledger today, that he's gonna schooling is going to remain virtual through, homeschooling. And before this, a couple weeks ago, Murphy said that, well, we're gonna do the stay home order until May 4th. So I think what's going to happen is, and I listened to 45 yesterday, Trump and his stages of phase 1 and phase 2 and phase 3, but he really didn't indicate what are the states are going to be coming out. He said that some of the states are going to be open up sometime today,
Right.
By May 1st. He really didn't outline the states that are going to be coming out and opening. Hopefully, by May 15th, the schools will reopen, and some of these kids in the senior class can get a chance. In high school, the baseball season is being delayed too, and some of these kids, they're seniors in high school, and there's a lot of proms and graduations around on hold right now. I mean, what I think is going to happen is this: he's gonna go with Cuomo. I mean, he's been going with Cuomo since he's been, the stay-home orders. Now, you see Cuomo in New York, he ordered, everyone to have a facial mask that's coming outside, which is commendable. I mean, and we need to really start paying attention to some of these warnings, because your facial mask, like you said, it's called reckless. I mean, people
Right.
People on Florida.
So here it is, right? I believe that we should all wear face masks. I believe, well, firstly, and I really believe this, I believe that we should all stay home. I believe that in order for this thing, and I think Fauci said it, 2 weeks, shut everything down. 2 weeks, shut it all down. Right?
Well, how could you shut? Let me ask you something.
No.
So you're taking away. You're actually taking away civil liberties right now.
Listen to what I'm saying, Will. I'm gonna finish, and then I'm gonna let you talk. Right?
Okay.
I believe in order to resolve it, I really do. In order to resolve it, just like you take a person who has COVID-19 and you quarantine them, so you remove them from everybody until they're no longer a threat. So if you understand that that's what you need to do. So I have a brother right now who has been in a room, locked in a room in his house, right? So, my sister, or my brother-in-law. So my sister, she leaves food outside the door, and but that's where he is. That's the space that he's in right now. Hold on, Will. Caller, please hold. So that's the space that he's in right now, right? And in order to keep his family safe, in order to keep my niece safe, my nephew safe, my sister safe, my brother-in-law has to be locked away. Locked away. Right? He's got to be locked away. So I'm saying, if that is what we do to individuals, if that's what we realize we have to do, you have to quarantine them, you have to isolate them, you have to lock them away. If we now recognize that couple things, right? Science. We follow science. So science says what? We don't know because of testing who has COVID-19. You'd be asymptomatic, but be a carrier. So if you don't know, and we don't have adequate testing to be able to tell. So if that is the space that we're in right now, every person that you walk by, may be a carrier of COVID-19. So if we were to look at it like that and operate from that perspective, that every single person might be a carrier of COVID-19, then what should we do, Will? Because
I mean, we're tough. We're stuck in a very serious situation right now.
Well, no, but I'm asking you a question.
With the economy,
no, but I'm asking you a very specific question.
But
wait, Will, we can get to all of that. But I'm asking you a very specific question. If you looked at it like that, because that is science. Science says that is the possibility. That every single person that you're walking by may be a carrier of COVID-19. So now, if that is the case, that's the case. And science says, lives on surfaces, that you can talk and breathe and sneeze and cough, and it's airborne. And it can live on cardboard for 48 hours or whatever the time is. If we understand that is the world that we're living in right now, then what is it that we do? I want you to hold that 1 second, Will. Let's take this other call. But think about that, and I want you to answer me directly. Go, caller.
Okay.
Hi, I'm just calling because I heard that you asked, what do you think that we should do? Should we, New Jersey, go back? And I heard the other caller, I think his name is Will, and he said, what about the palms and the baseball? Forget some daggone pies. Forget the baseball. Are you kidding me? How about we want your kids to live? Aren't their lives more important than watch them walk across the stage? Like, what am I
First of all.
Wait, don't talk over the caller. Let's go one at a time. Let's go one at a time.
Okay.
Listen, and I'm not calling for attack, and I don't mean no disrespect. I guess it's the frustration because I see it online so much. I've also seen a petition for hairstylists for people to sign for them to come to go back to work and maybe do one client an hour, or one client each. And I'm saying to myself, I understand people got to go back to work. I understand the economy, but listen, your life is more important. Forget all that. You know what I'm saying? Your life is more important. You don't know who has. You don't know. We are not ready to go to send everybody back to work. They don't care. They care about their pocket. They care about money. And you got people right now who don't even listen to the rules. And I live in Oakbridge. I came home yesterday. People outside ride bikes. They're walking their dogs with ice cream cones. I'm saying to myself, nobody has a mask on. I'm in my car with a mask on. So we got people that don't listen now. You think when they send them back, they're going to be wearing their mask and gloves and stay 6 feet apart? Of course not. So I don't mean no disrespect. I'm not attacking. It's just a frustration because it seems like people are more, they're not paying attention to what's important, which is your life, not all this other stuff.
So, caller, you know what I think part of it is? Caller, you know what I think part of it is? And thank you for calling in. I think part of it is the conspiracy theories that are out there, right? The lack of trust. And I talked about this on a previous show. That you have scientists out there on both sides. You have some scientists saying, hey, listen, this thing is real. It's highly contagious, right? You can be asymptomatic for a long period of time, and you can spread it. And if you are a Black American, you have a greater propensity to die from it because of underlying preconditions. Right? So this is on one side.
I'd like to respond.
I'm going to let you respond, Will.
What this caller just said.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead, Will.
So if she's seen people riding bicycles, kids playing in the street, what is your responsibility of calling the local authorities and saying, well, listen, we have a stay-home order in New Jersey, and like, I give kudos to my buddy, my fellow mayor out in East Orange, that he's planning to, and this is what we've talked about on the show since this pandemic era. People they're not being responsible when they walk out of the houses, not wearing the mask. They're doing social gatherings, and that's what they're doing. And people can call to the show and say, listen, if you see somebody, say something to the authorities, call the police. The social gathering. We have an executive order by our governor, and let's all be responsible to basically, hey, listen, you see somebody, okay, you make them aware. We're still going through this crisis. People are dying It's nobody's fault. It's unfortunate, but we all try to have to work together instead of coming up here and I was talking about baseball. First of all, my content in talking about baseball and gatherings, I think the mayor, is governor of New York. He's going to take steps. Governor Murphy's going to take steps, and he's taking the step. He's telling you to stay in the house. He's not going to. This is not a vacation for parents and students to go out on the street and play with their fellow mates and go food shopping. You can go do
but
these.
Will, I want to get back.
I only said that because you said, oh, I think we should send the kids back to school. No, get the kids in the house.
But I want to get back to.
I want to get back to. The bottom line is,
Will,
we as adults, when we see this, we should, let our children know. Hey, listen, this is a serious situation. We got to stay in the house. We're going to get back to one of these. Hopefully, we've been going through this pandemic. It's a lot of stress on a lot of people. Our public officials are saying, stay in the house, stay in the house.
Will, here's what I'm asking though, right? And I'm looking.
Okay.
And Sidney Barnes makes a couple statements in the thread. He said he says he totally disagrees with what it is that I'm saying. But he also says in the thread, if you're a team player, stop working from home and stop your source of income. Stay inside and wait for everyone to get back to work at the same time. Are you a team player? ? I don't think you are. So stop saying don't open the economy. So he was being sarcastic in the first part of that, and he believes that we should open the economy. But here's what I'm going to say again. If you're saying, Will, I'm listening to you, right?
Okay.
You said everybody should have a mask on. People shouldn't go out for recreational purposes. They should only go out when you need to go out, which means you think that there's something out there, something very dangerous out there. And I'm saying, if there is put
it this way, Eric. People should go out for for a walk and come out on their front porch and get some fresh air. The stay
I
on
understand.
water.
I don't want you to be long-winded with it. I get that. What I'm saying is this: do you believe that there is something dangerous out there that's killing people?
I believe so.
Okay.
We live in the situation that we're in.
So if there is, like the other caller said, like the young lady said, if it is,
okay,
what is more important than saving human life?
Let's be responsible on ourselves. Let's police ourselves before the politicians police us.
But
you know what I mean? That's how I feel about the whole situation. I would go out, for get the newspaper, go to the store, get a cup of coffee, and come back in the house. And I would
but that's you, Will. But that's you, right? But we do know that people are throwing Corona parties and people are doing other kinds of things.
Oh, absolutely.
Excuse me, young lady.
What's going on is that our governor has taken the responsibility, along with the state police, gave them summonses and warned them.
Got it, but it's not working, Will.
You know what I mean?
It's not working. Ma'am, are you still on the line? Did she hang up? She might have hung up. I wish you would call back. I got another question to ask you. But, Will, it's not working. Now, here's the other thing that I do know. Now, having said everything that I said, because I do believe that there's something dangerous out there, there is no vaccine for it, there is no cure for it. You have where they thought that that once you caught it, right, you developed immunity to it, and so then they were talking about using the plasma from survivors and then giving that to other people as a form of immunity or fighting it. And now they're realizing that some people around the world who've had it caught it again. And so now the whole plasma.
Eric.
Yes.
Hey, hello, Eric.
Yes.
Hey, can I just say two things? I'm sort of in the mix. One, Will, I respect you what you bring to the show and what you speak on all the time. But I want you to think about this: your cup of coffee can kill your entire family. Your trip to get a cup of coffee can wipe everybody in your household.
But wait a minute, stop right there. Wait, Farrakhan.
So think
Farrakhan, Hold it right there.
I agree with you.
No, hold it right there. Right. So I want to stay right there. Do you believe that is true, Will?
I mean, yes, I do. I mean,
Okay,
it's a serious situation out here.
Wait. So if you believe it's true, so where Farrakhan's perspective is this, that everything he does, right, it doesn't just impact him, can have a profound impact on potentially hundreds, if not thousands of people. And so he's taking on a personal responsibility not to be reckless with not only his life, but with their lives too. Now,
I agree with that.
Okay, so my question
and I
is...
agree, Farrakhan, I do agree with your assessment, you know, and you know, I understand that you're a business owner and you're losing lots of businesses, you know, and you're just taking the precautionary measures and you're just telling me, hey, listen, you know, that cup of coffee could be, you know, you could be, you know, hurting. It might not look like a cup of coffee. It's not important right now, but I'm saying you'll give me a benefit. Hey, listen, I'm only looking out for your health and well-being and welfare, and I appreciate that.
You true indeed. Because listen, man, right now, just have some Folgers. You know what I'm saying? Just forget about something. Just have some Folgers. Because right now, what we have to understand is, like I heard you were about to say civil liberties, and then Eric said something, and I one for civil liberties like anybody. I've lost my civil liberties before. Okay, let's be clear, right? I had been a person who had no civil liberties.
This is why I
don't talk over him.
Okay.
You know, I didn't have the right to choose the food I ate. I didn't have the right to choose what time I wanted to call somebody. I didn't have a right to choose what time I had to go to bed. So I know about losing a civil liberty. But I know that in this situation, you can take virtually every civil liberty necessary. Because the number one civil liberty that I want to have is the right to breathe.
Yeah.
The right to live.
I agree with that. And I do also, when I do go outside, I do use my mask.
There are 52 weeks in a year. This would be over if 1 month ago when we started this, right now it'd be over if everybody sat still for 2 weeks.
Right.
Because we would have found and been able to assess all the cases.
Right. But you know what? You know what's sad about it, though? You know what's sad about it? And somebody in the thread wrote that there's so many mixed messages out there. One of the challenges is this, and you got to look. Discernment is important, right? You got to look at motive. Why? Why are people saying the things that they're saying? Are they saying it because they care about you? Because they believe it, or are they profiteering from it, right? And you so look at those things, and you could always trace it back, right? And so a lot of the mixed messages out there, and I've done some research. I've looked into some of these groups and some of these doctors, and they have PhDs and stuff, right? And they're out there, floating these conspiracy theories and talking about, using these catchphrases now, Will, to try to fearmonger, right? They're taking your civil liberties. They're trying to lock you up. They're changing government forever. The sky is falling. This is disastrous. This is gonna kill you. What I would ask you to do is just literally 1 or 2 Google searches into who they are will let you know what their motive is. That's it. So it doesn't have to be confusing. It just requires you to do a little bit of work. Not a whole lot, just a tiny bit of work. And then you'll understand what their motive is. They have political motive. They have an economic motive. But they don't give a damn about you. That's what I would ask you to do when you look at this stuff, whether they're talking about 5G, they're talking about all of this stuff that's out here now. It is in the truest sense of the word, maximum sophisticated confusion. And I think
so. I just wanted to ask you guys, the government said Thursday that 5.2 more Americans have applied for unemployment in the last week, bringing the fourth week of 22 million, including 708,000 from New Jersey.
Right.
So, how are we, like you said in the beginning of the show, Eric, how are we going to get this economy rolling back in Jersey?
Right. So what's got to happen? So listen, we got to get healthy first. Without your health, this guy you.
You're right. I agree. Without your health, it's like the saying what my mother said to me many years ago. Without forget about it's about your health first. You got to be healthy.
Without your health, you have nothing. Right. So let's start.
Yep.
Okay. So
Think of it like this about the economy, right? Once everybody is healthy again, all those jobs that they had, those 17 million lost jobs, will be required again. Yep. Right? Because people will do the same things again. The economy getting started or rolling is like Eric just said, it's some kind of line of speech, right? It's something that they're saying. Because the bottom line is this. If people needed jobs selling shoes, somebody's going to need to sell shoes in a month if we wait. You understand? If the airlines, they'll be doing 50,000 flights a day again, soon as we can get back to working. So we don't have to worry about where the jobs are going to come. They'll be in the same places they already were. That's not an issue.
Well, that's not true. Some jobs are going to be gone. A lot of jobs are going to be gone forever. Forever. They're going to be gone. But listen, I don't even. But here's the thing, right? So we could have that conversation too. But I literally want to just stay in this space, the space that you so eloquently. Two things you've said. One on this show, Farrakhan, and one on a previous show. And the other one, the thing you said on a previous show, I say it all the time now when I'm talking to people. When they want to have these discussions about where to come from, who lied, who this, who that, who whatever, right? Go on and on and on, right? Just to confuse you. I pause and I say, listen. I said, you know what? There's a gentleman who called the show and he said, listen, we understand that black folk don't manufacture guns. We understand that, we don't have the poppy fields and all those things. So the drugs and the guns that come in our community, we know, we have an idea of how they get there, right? Now, but if there is a shooting going on, I'm not going to sit on the stoop and wax philosophically about the guns and how they got here, and we're going to duck. We're going to find cover. Right? We're going to get safe. And then once we get safe, once it's over, if we then want to come out and sit and talk about, these damn guns, there's too many guns. You know how they got here?
I got to take this call. So I got to take a call. I'll talk to you guys a little later.
So, okay. So we're in this space now, right? Where the conversations about conspiracy theories and so forth, I don't want to have them now. I don't want to have them now. Now, with respect to the government, or respect to jobs and how we get back, I don't know. But I'm trying to answer your question, and I'm going to answer it honestly, right? I don't know. But what I do know is this: from science, you have this highly contagious a virus for which there is no cure. Right? And so the thing that we cannot do, right? So you can make all the money in the world. If you die, what's the worth of it? What's the value of it?
It's sad. It's the whole thing, unfortunately, it's a very sad situation. It has changed my life a little bit, and changed a lot of people's lives, It's an unfortunate situation. This is just a drastic thing, and trying to wash your hands, keeping your hand, like the health officials are telling you, wash your hands, don't touch your face. That's a good. I even in my house, I do live alone, and I don't have family with me. I do keep my apartment real I changed some of my routines since March 21st. I wear gloves every time I go out. I do come in. I do take my clothes off. I get in the shower. Now I'm doing laundry every week instead of doing it like once a week. Right. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, I've changed some of my routines.
Right.
Staying down on the cell phone and all that kind of stuff.
You know what I would love to see, and I put this on my page yesterday. I would love to see all the conspiracy theorists, right? All of them. I want to know how many funerals you contribute to. And I want to know, for all of the people that you're trying to convince to follow your nonsense, if they contract COVID-19, will you take care of their medical bill? Or will you just move on to the next sucker who's going to buy your line of bullshit? Let's pony up. Let's true up. So you want to be out there selling that craziness. So somebody contracts it, right? Somebody contracts it. Let them come to your doorstep to cover the costs. But you won't do that. It's reckless. I believe it's... So how do we get beyond this? I think that the longer we listen to nonsensical conspiracy theories, this thing drags on, because you have people throwing parties, you have people hanging out, you have people not wearing masks, you have people coughing on other folks, you have all of those things going on, right? As long as we're trying to carve around, I have a right to be stupid.
And I just want to say this. I was in a lift the other day in Orange. I was traveling someplace in Orange, and the lift driver did not have a mask on or gloves. So I reported him to the lift company, and they got back to me, and they stated to me that they will investigate the matter. But they're not taking these.
Well, why would
some
you
of these
get
lift
it?
drivers.
But
some of these lift drivers are
why would
reckless
you
too,
get in
also, Eric.
So listen. So this is what I'm gonna say. Sure, the lift driver should have had a mask on. But why would you get into the lift car if you saw he didn't have a mask on? And then you took
listen. I'm not responsible for somebody else's action.
No, you're responsible for you.
That's the company's responsibility of telling the drivers to get with the program.
But wait a minute.
The program is this. We need to stop being reckless. We need to listen to Governor
Murphy.
How
reckless was it for you to get in
an excellent job right now.
How reckless was it for you, knowing he didn't have
a mask on? And I had a mask on, and I had a pair of gloves on. And I did report the gentleman.
So, did you feel safe in that vehicle with the person who didn't have a mask on?
I didn't really feel safe, but I did report the incident to the company, and it's their actions if they take it or not. Let's be realistically. These companies, I might offend some people, okay, and I might not, okay. These companies, you have a stay-home order. The governor has told you to stay in the house. We're doing construction. We're doing we're some of these store owners you can't even go in the store without basically having a mask. But I'm saying the construction workers, we're doing major construction in New Jersey. So you're saying you created a stay-home order, but you're doing construction at the same time, and for these projects in New Jersey. So what is it? Are we going to get with the program as far as doing a stay-home order, or are we going to be doing construction? We're going to hold these house parties, these It's called responsibility in an adult.
So here was the strategy. So let us be clear about what the strategy was. The strategy was based on models, and now we realize that those models were flawed, right? But the strategy was based on the idea that this was a very highly contagious virus that could be transmitted from either symptomatic or asymptomatic individuals, right? And that it could spread so rapidly as to overtake our entire medical infrastructure, right? And because we didn't have enough ventilators, we didn't have enough beds, we didn't have enough room, we didn't have in the hospital, we didn't have enough any of those things. When they were looking at the models, they said, hey, wait a minute. If life goes on as normal and people just go out and go to work and do whatever they're going to do, we will not be able to handle this. This will get out of control. So what they started to do was they wanted to slow it down. They knew people were going to get sick. They knew people were going to wind up in the hospital and ICU, that people were going to wind up on respirators, and that some people were going to die. But they were hoping to spread it out so that you didn't have this inundation, right? You didn't have this flood into the hospitals. So by saying only essential people can go to work, right? They knew that there's a risk, right? I don't think the risk of an essential person is any greater or less than a non-essential person. But if you limit the number of people, then you potentially limit the how rapid the spread is. And then you can treat it through your healthcare infrastructure. That's what they were working to do. So when you looked at the different things, with the exception of the, in terms of essential, with the exception of the, well, no. And they did it even with the, and I talked about this on my page in a thread. They even did it with the liquor store. There was somebody who put out a comment that, oh, the liquor stores were open because of the tax revenue and blah, blah, blah. That's not why they left the liquor stores open. They left the liquor stores open, Will, because of the alcohol addiction that exists in our country. And if you ever
I totally agree with that.
And if you ever know an alcoholic who had to go cold turkey, it's a brutal thing. They get sick, they vomit, some of them go into seizure-like convulsions, and then you know what would happen, Will? They'd have to go to the hospital. And they needed to keep the hospitals clear for the COVID-19 patients. So they didn't want some drunk or some alcoholic who was now trying to, couldn't get his or her fix coming into an emergency room. That's why they made it essential. Call a go.
Just wanted to give Will something else to think about and answer your question if I can. Will, when you were in the lift, were the windows closed?
Yes, they were. The windows were closed.
All right. So if he has the air conditioner or the heat on, and and he's not protecting, you protected him, but you're in an enclosed area in less than 6 feet with the ventilation on, and when the person out here that's running their mouth is more dangerous than the person out here coughing if they've been contaminated. And when he's talking and the ventilator is the ventilation in the car, the air conditioning is blowing back there on you, and you don't have your eyes covered and your ears covered, and they all and our eyes. Hold on.
Will, don't talk over.
Will, I'm not going to talk over you.
Okay.
All right. If your eyes, ears, and nose and mouth are all connected. This is why the doctors are wearing masks. Not only wearing masks, they're wearing shields. And the shield comes back and go around their ear. Because of the simple fact that this ventilation, the air vents is blowing on them, or the person sneezes, it's not getting in their eyes, it's not getting in their ears, it's not getting in your nose, it's not getting in your mouth. So the people the asymptomatic people are twice as dangerous as the person that's coughing and sneezing, because it's like a speed limit sign. Oh, no, let me go over that. Don't let me go close to that, because he's sneezing, he's coughing. I can see that. So, but we have to understand that, you know, when we go out here, just because we think we're protected, don't necessarily mean that you're fully protected. So I just want to.
Mike, but I want to get to this.
Hey, Mike, I just wanted to share this with you, Mike. You know, I did report the incident to Lyft. You know, they got hurt last night. Okay, and they are going to investigate the matter and probably pull that driver off the road. But I think there should have been a policy in place for Lyft and Uber that all employees must wear masks, regardless of what they come in contact. I don't know if they have a policy in place.
Yeah, they do have a policy.
But I made them aware of it.
Well, they do. But Mike, I want to ask you a question, right? Because it is a serious issue in terms of the economy, right? And we did a show where we talked about whether the cure was going to be worse than the disease. Now, you call and you may be out on the road again today, so you're working.
I'm out here.
Okay,
I'm out here.
so you're working.
And I give my company hell on the annual thing. But then I'm listening.
And so if you weren't working, if they shut everything down and they said, you know what, we're going to shut it all down.
Yeah.
Would you be okay with that?
Can I elaborate on that, please? Go ahead. Eric, can I elaborate on this shutting down and all this? I mean, that's a great. I mean, listen, our elected officials, our governor is doing a great job right now. I mean, kudos to Phil Murphy. You know, I'm a Democrat. I always will support the
Some people might
Party.
disagree with you, Will.
I'll say that again.
Some people may disagree with you.
I mean, you're going to disagree with me. I mean, that's people's opinion. You know what I mean? But I got to look at it. I got to look at it this way. You know, this is a pandemic, and we just have to follow the rules. Stay in the house. I mean, if you're not able to come, I mean, how many times when we were in high school, don't go in that classroom or go in that gym. I mean, what is the rules and regulations right now? Stay in the house. Like the mayor of East Orange this weekend, he's shutting down his city.
Well, got it. We got another caller.
We understand. But let me answer Eric's question.
Okay.
Before weeks back, I talked about it's going to come down to capitalism versus the environmentalism. And so let me couch the economy under capitalism, and let me couch our ecological system under the environmentalism. And our ecological system is damaged that we can't come in contact or we can't breathe each other's air, and it's damaged. Now, the economy is damaged because people can't spend and, so forth and so on. They can't capitalize on us. We're not good consumers right now. So they want us to come back out into this ecological system that has been so damaged so that their wealth and power can remain in place. Because the longer we try to fight this thing from our personal standpoint, it's less money for them. So it might make any sense. So,
Gotcha.
I don't even know what to say about that, but go ahead, I'm listening.
We got another call. Call or go.
Hi, yes, I'm the young lady that called in earlier.
Yes, ma'am.
And I had to hang up because I'm at work, and because I'm at, and it was getting a little. I didn't want the background noise to get into the conversation. You guys couldn't hear me, but because I have to work. I'm at work. I'm in here every day. I work for the electric company. I'm at work. I don't have the luxury of working from home. So I'm in here wearing a mask for 8 hours. Ain't good.
Are you
You know
afraid?
what I'm saying? So, I'm sorry?
Are you afraid?
Am I afraid? Honestly, yes, I do have fear, absolutely. I mean, absolutely, I have fear. But the only thing I can do every day is pray and do the best I can to be safe in here every day, which is wear my mask, wear my gloves. I have access to, resources as far as sprays and wipes and hand sanitizer. So that's just what I do. But, I come home every day. I wash clothes every single day. Come in the house, wash clothes off, wash I don't even bring my shoes in the house. I don't even bring my shoes in my house. I leave them on my front, in front of my house, and I spray them with like top and bottom. Top and bottom.
That's a smart thing. Because
I go grocery shopping. I come home from grocery shopping, not to put you off, and I wipe my groceries down before I put them up. True story. Fact. Like, it's not a game. It's serious. I understand the economy, and those that can work from home, I suggest they consider to work from home. Like I said, I don't have that luxury. I'm here every day. You know what I'm saying? But I don't even know what to say. I just think that some people, and not you guys, not Will or anybody like that, but some people are just thinking about they just want to go back outside, or I want things to turn back to normal. There will be no normal after this. There's going to be a new normal after this. So I'll just sit back and continue listening to you guys.
Well, I appreciate you. Stay safe.
Thank you. You too.
So, Eric,
Yeah.
what is PSCNG? I was going to ask the young lady, what is PSCNG doing to protect their workers, the frontline workers? That's what I wanted to know.
Well, what's happening is everything is going against business models, and the complaints that you make, and if you are alone in making these complaints, they will, single you out. And like the Amazon kid, he didn't have a union or anything like that, but they got him out of there. Yeah. And a lot of these companies,
sad. I mean, the whole situation is kind of sad right now throughout the entire country.
Yeah, well, I mean, if we don't come up with a strategy, well, I don't have the time. I didn't have the time this week, but I have a strategy that I think that will help going forward with the stop of the spread, and I'm gonna make a little video about it. I'm gonna send it to you over the weekend before I post it, Eric, and let you look at it, and maybe you can air it or something. But it's we got this top-down approach to this thing, and the people up at the top been shitting on, excuse my language, they've been defecating on us all along. So now that when we find ourselves in a difficult situation, they just throwing a little bit down at us, the crumbs that they been throwing down at us, and saying, yeah, y'all can survive on it. And we got to stop and say, no, we going to force our way, our decisions up. We've been sitting back and letting them, you don't have all the symptoms, you can't get tested, and this thing just chugging along. They saying that the numbers are curving or whatever, plateauing, but that still 600, 700 people are dying a day in close proximity. That's not good. That's not good. So, yeah, if you want to get back out here in what I call an industrial hazard, and these companies are just chugging along, making money, hey, that's what you want to do. You want people to go around, and, get back out here and start moving around, and the numbers are going to go up. And I want people to remember, this is the beginning. This is the beginning. When it goes through the country, come back, a different country, somebody get on a plane, come back here, it's starting right over again. It's starting right over again. All of these industries, the cruise line industry, they were aware of this virus. They just kept chugging along.
Yeah.
The airport, the airport, that industry just kept chugging along. They don't care. Oh, I gotta stop and make it longer.
And what I'm saying,
longer.
but you know what though? What you're talking about, Mike, is exactly what I was saying earlier. So follow the money. So all those industries, right, that don't care, that are willing to sacrifice you for the dollar that they're going to make, right? They are now funding a lot of these organizations that are pushing out these conspiracy theories. I want you to understand that. They're funding these groups that are popping up. These blog sites that are showing up now. All of these things. They're funding all of them. And listen,
So I just wanted to get your viewpoints when the World Health Organization funding. What do you guys think about that? You know, let their funding.
He's a masterful deflectionist. I mean, he's not gonna take no responsibility. It's always gonna be look over there. He's a carpetbagger.
Well, I got the powers to open up the country, and all of a sudden, I guess it's people put them in check that the governors have the power to open up the country.
The Constitution put him in check.
Here's a question.
The Constitution put him in
Hey, Mike,
check.
I want to.
And he realized that it was a losing battle.
Mike,
it was a losing battle. But he would have taken a collateral damage on that he couldn't afford.
Mike, but I want to ask you a question about that, and it's something that I've been debating with a couple of people. So here's how I looked at and I'm looking at the economy, because that is going to be the cornerstone of whether or not Donald Trump wins re-election or not, right? You go back to, it's the economy, stupid. And so him being a cheerleader and championing the idea of opening the economy because he realizes the amount of pain that everybody is suffering, right? You think, okay, yeah, we got to get the economy open. People have to get back to work. I got to earn a paycheck. I got to pay my bills, right? So you want to do it. And then when you now get engaged in this conversation about, you know, the danger of it, right? Then that's the pragmatist. It's almost like a CFO and a CEO in a business, right? The CEO's job is to just be a visionary. Just a visionary. I want to do this. I want to have the biggest business in the world. I want to spend all the money and get all these things. And the CFO is the pragmatist that pulls you back and says, no, we're not going to do that, right? And so Donald Trump being the CEO in this case, I'm just floating this out here for folks to just consider. Being the CEO and saying, hey, I want all of this. Now tell me no. And so now these governors were in a position to say, no, we're going to be in charge. So he says, well, I wanted to open it all up. They said no. So, but you know what? I think you guys should open it up. And, you know, you go ahead and do it. And I'm in agreement with you. And I'm going to give you some guidelines of things that you can follow. But I believe that it should be open. Now, if these governors open up the economies in their respective states, right, and it roars, doesn't Donald Trump win? And if they don't, wait a minute, let me finish. And if they don't open it, doesn't he blame them because he wanted to open it?
I mean, I'm just going to respond to that. My thing is that Donald Trump knew in January of this year, and his people knew that this was taken. He took it as a joke, and he called it as a hoax. No, it's a hoax. Well, now, Mr. Trump, it's not a hoax, and people are dying. And you were reckless in your judgment on putting a vaccine in place or some type of. He even fired the pandemic team. He fired the entire team. Now what?
Right.
Now what? Now what's the next plan?
Right, but I'm not right. But I'm talking about the economy. The conversation is about the economy.
I wanted to kind of about to respond in the sense that, like the Civil War, most people think it was about freeing the slaves, but it was about labor, and the North had to pay the South, and they couldn't compete with the South. I mean, the North had to pay their workers, and they couldn't compete with the South because they had free labor. So now Lincoln goes down there and said, "No, we're gonna have to go to war here." So instead of the white man down in the South saying, "Oh, I don't have an army. Let me get my people together." He goes to the other, the poor white people who wasn't too far off from the slave, and says, "Look, you can one day own slaves too if you fight for me, fight for the businesses that we can win this thing, and you can own slaves too." So he got the poor people to fight his battle for him. It's similar to what you're saying now. Now with the governors saying, "No, we got the full power." If they don't come up with a strategy that's gonna get around testing everybody, put a squelch on this thing, it very well could backfire on them. Because Lincoln said, if I can get around into this war without freeing the slave, I would. And that really backfired on him in the sense that people were like, "Damn, you messed up our economy, we can't." And so the South was, and still is today, you know what I mean? That's why they still walk around here with the Confederate flag. But I think you're absolutely right. If the governors don't move in a strategic manner, that's going to get testing under control, that everybody is getting tested, it could very well backfire on them. You're absolutely right.
And
this thing is, it's...
Oh, it's a political chess match.
They're playing with all our lives.
That's exactly what they're doing. It's a political chess game going on right now. And we think that they're making moves because they care about us. That's not why they're making these moves.
No, they don't.
Here's something else I want to ask you guys since I have you on the phone.
We got to care enough about ourselves to tell them what we want. And damn it, if you don't do it, all y'all going to be replaced.
Yeah.
And that will put a fire up under them. But, I mean, you can't get people to,
So I want to
come at the damn same time.
Since I got you both on the phone, and I appreciate you guys, I'm enjoying this conversation. I posted this on my page today because I thought it was pretty ironic in a way. I said, Americans right now are faced with a choice of voting for a presidential candidate on either side that has faced sexual assault charges. That's where we are. Both candidates. Right? Sexual assault charges. Now, on the Republican side, the Democrats make a big deal out of
accusations, Eric. Accusations, not charges.
No.
Can you hear me, Eric?
No, accusations.
Yeah, they're not charges. Right? These men have not been arrested and charged with the murder.
No. Accusations. You corrected me. Accusations. Allegedly. Right? Allegedly. But I can't help but think about the level of empathy that was shown to Dr. Ford when Judge Kavanaugh was going through his confirmation hearing. And now this woman's not getting that same kind of love from those Democrats who believe that women ought to be heard and trusted and valued. Why is it different, Will?
Say that again. I wasn't here.
Yeah, I said why. Well,
listen. Here's the story with that, man. I'm not really I didn't really tune into your page about it. I really don't know much about it, but I'm not gonna comment about it because I really don't know the background. But like Farrakhan said, these are accusations.
But they were accusations.
Okay, now remember the Bill Cosby case?
No. I'm not talking about Will, I'm not talking about the Bill Cosby case. What I'm saying is this, that the same level of energy that existed during Dr. Ford's accusations of Judge Kavanaugh during those hearings, I don't see those same Democrats rushing to this woman's side to make sure that she has her moment to talk about what's going on. And to say to Joe Biden, right? Hey, listen, we need to have an open understanding of what's going on. Why the double standard? Or the apparent double standard?
If I can put it this way, it's sort of like the second term theory with Obama. Like, no, we can't put no pressure on him now because he got to get elected to the second term. There was no guarantee that he was going to get elected to no second term, and I think it was a deflection on a good way to keep people from putting pressure on him in his first term, and we didn't. I can't measure how much we got in his first term as opposed to his second term, or if we got anything at all. But it's the same theory that, oh no, there's going to be a bunch of people. It's like it's more important to keep quiet about this and let Joe get in the White House. And it ain't no guarantee Joe gonna get in the damn White House.
I agree with Eric. I agree.
Ain't no guarantee.
There's no guarantee. It's not gonna happen.
He's, you know what I mean? He's so middle of the road. Joe Biden is he's not even middle of the road. Obama was middle of the road. Joe Biden is left of the middle. Mm-hmm. He ain't even close. I mean, he's closer to the right than he is the middle, and he's so far from the left on a lot of views, and people are going to miss out on that, and there's no guarantee that he's going to win. So now, we don't have you at least have a conversation about these alleged accusations, then, we might be setting ourselves up for a big one. Yeah. And that's the way I look at it.
Yeah, I think it's going to be. I think them not dealing with it head on. Is going to come back to bite. What do you guys believe?
But go ahead, I'm listening.
What do you believe? As Joe Biden now is looking for a running mate. The thing that I don't hear is qualifications, right? I see pandering, like gotta have a woman, right? Or gotta have a woman of color, right?
That ain't saying much.
You understand what I'm saying? So, the conversations about, well, is he going to pick Elizabeth Warren? No, because she's an older white woman. So he's going to have to pick a black woman. He's going to pick, and in the end, ought it not be, I'm going to pick a qualified person who can do this because these are the things that are needed to move this country to a better place than we are right now. But to simply look and say, because I was reading something, they say, well, he owes the black community, and I think by that they mean Clyburn, right? And so that Clyburn's got his summer.
And Clyburn is saying, no, you don't owe y'all, you owe me.
Exactly, Mike. Exactly. But who do you? So you've got. I think the contenders are Stacey Abrams,
the woman out of Florida, Congresswoman, she was in law enforcement. Gail, what's her name? I can't. I know she was there, and her husband is a mayor in down in Florida. I know they float her name out there. I can't even remember her name right now.
Right. So it's going to be a woman. I don't think it's going to be. I don't think it's going to be a man. The only man that I think he could probably get away with would be Buttigieg.
My goodness.
But I
he ain't getting away with Buttigieg.
But I think because I think he still covers. I think he still covers. Or checks some boxes. By picking Buttigieg, right? Let's take this caller.
He don't cover the black woman's vote.
Well, he's not going to cover. Hey, listen. But the question but Mike, does he?
Go ahead, I'm listening.
But listen, does he have to cover the black woman's vote? Can he just lean on Clyburn, and can he lean on black folks to wrap whatever decision he makes, in a nice sackcloth and take it into the black community and sell it anyway? I mean, that's what they do.
I think that he the reason I say that he don't check the black woman's vote is because they're like 98% of the voting block, and then you have to consider it. They coming home. They come home and say, no, we're going to vote for them. But I don't know what that is, but that's the reason I say that. That's the only reason I say that, and that's why he's pandering to black women.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well,
he's pandering to a woman anyway. To a woman, yeah. To a woman, yeah. I'm gonna hang up and get back out here on the road. I gotta get up the road a little bit.
Appreciate it, man. Be safe. Be safe. Will, do you have any ideas?
I mean, it could be Stacey Abrams. You know what I mean?
Who would you like to see?
It could be. I don't know, and I really haven't really followed it. But I mean,
do you think a vice president? Do you think a vice president?
Whoever he is going to make a choice, he's going to make either the right choice or the wrong choice.
Do you? Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, yeah. He's going to make a right choice or a wrong choice. I don't think there's
whatever.
Yeah, it's going to be one or the other, right? But here's the who would you like to see, and why?
I mean, I really haven't really followed it much, Eric. You know what I mean? I really haven't followed it to. I've been, I really haven't. I would be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, I really don't know, and I really don't have an opinion about it at this moment.
Do you think, given Biden's age, it is critical?
I mean, age plays a part in presidential elections. Being a president. Look at Trump right now.
No. What I'm saying to you is this. What I'm saying to you is this. Is it matter? I mean, because we know, if you understand civics, you know that the vice president is a heartbeat away, like literally just a heartbeat away from being president. Something happens to the president, vice president becomes president, right? So do we look at that differently now because of the age of Biden? I don't know if Republicans looked at it when
it actually could play in people's minds as far as voting wise, but right now that this country is what this country is going through, this country is devastated by this COVID-19. All I can tell you is this: we're gonna have to take this one day at a time. You know what I mean? The country has changed a lot. The ways of now social distance practices. I mean, it showed maybe where people were getting out of hand. They were reckless. But it's an unfortunate thing that we're going through this right now, and hopefully and we pray. We're just going to have to take it one day at a time. You know, it's an unfortunate thing. You know, people were dying at a rate. You know, New Jersey, New York has the biggest COVID-19 numbers right now. I mean, each governor is going to take their, you know, day-to-day, you know, feelings as far as, you know, moving our speech along. To be honest with you, you know, I don't know. I mean, where do we go post-COVID-19? You know, economically, educational, you know, where the kids are right now in New Jersey and throughout tri-state area New York, they're actually at home learning. I mean, this
well,
could
you
be a
hope they're
learning
home
tool.
learning. But listen, I mean, look, everything's going to be different. I was listening to a news report, J.P. Morgan, and some of the other companies who have office space in New York, because a lot of their employees are working from home, and we talked about this on the show before, they're rethinking now whether they need that expensive office space. They're able to get the work done, so they're renting this office space that they had all these employees in. They're able to get the same level of work done. They're not seeing any fall off in the work. But if they now get rid of that office space, they save a lot of overhead. Call or go.
How you doing? I just wanted to respond to the Biden vice president thing.
Yeah.
I was having a long discussion with my mother, and I'll get to the point. It has to be a candidate that the American people can get to know, like someone who's not on the political scene nationally, but has done some things locally, that then they can brand that person. So the best person, well, I don't want to say the best, but one of the brand of candidate that Biden would have to pick to work best in his interest would be someone like Shavar Jeffries. I say that because although he's a Democrat, he could get some of the conservative vote. The other thing, I got to respond to that World Health Organization thing that Mr. Hathaway brought up. The United States has been overpaying into that program. So if we've been overpaying and these other nations have been not paying how their way in, then they're in no moral position to criticize what we're doing when it's a global issue. This is something that's been a global problem. The other thing is, to Mr. Hathaway, we have to remember in 2016, Hillary was guaranteed to get in there until that information came out from the deep state. When those WikiLeaks cables hit, if something like that happens again this go round, because that's now a part of the landscape of national politics. You know, we're living in the information age and that sort of thing. So if they run a similar play on Biden that took place like the Edward Snowdens of the world, if those informational activists get a hold of Biden, this thing might be in the bag by Labor Day. But that's my 2 cents. I'm not saying I'm right. I'm not saying that I'm right, but I think Biden's going to need to find someone who's like someone who's relatable. If it's not someone relatable, not electable, someone who's relatable, he might have some problems after Labor Day. Because I saw it happen to Hillary. I thought Hillary was going to win it, and then me and my friend were saying after Labor Day, families kind of take a reset. They're sending their kids to school. Right around Labor Day, the WikiLeaks cables hit. And then what did we see? Hillary had to defend the emails thing and Benghazi. First it was Benghazi, and then it was the emails, and then they drug the emails out all the way from Labor Day all the way until when it got called through the election. I was shocked Trump won the presidency. I thought it was going to be Hillary, but we're living in the information age. I just want us to notate that so that that's part of the political landscape. This could happen to Biden, and Biden's more vulnerable than Hillary. I believe. I could be wrong, and I'll continue to study. But if they bring light to his past history, and they bring light to why he was actually in Ukraine,
yeah, you know
this thing might be over. This thing might be over by Labor Day, man.
Yeah.
We're trying to call a game in the first quarter.
Yeah.
That's not how it works.
Yeah. So, caller, while I have you
Stay
on,
blessed, y'all.
while I have you
Go ahead,
on,
go ahead, Eric.
what do you think about the opening of the economy?
The opening of the economy, I believe that the governors are going to have to. Health is our wealth. So the good governors, like, I have some issues with how New Jersey is managing it, but they're going to have a national testing system and decide how they're going to ensure the safety of the people. The people are the most valuable asset in an economy. So I think I believe that the secretary mentioned. I'm messing up his name. The Secretary of the Treasury, the current Secretary of the Treasury, has already gone. He's been sent to Capitol Hill to discuss this bailout. They'll do another bailout if they need to benefit themselves politically as it gets closer to the presidential election. So don't think he won't do another stimulus at the end of the summer, because Secretary mentioned. I'll try to put it in the feed. They're willing to use whatever.
I think there's a $2,000 check coming.
Oh, well, yeah, then the election will be over. If they send out 2 Gs to everyone, I mean, not everyone studies the policy as meticulously as someone like Eric or Kevin or Diane. Like our voter education and civics being taught in American schools, people are not trained to look at issues like, Alicia Parker Richardson or Manera. They're not going to do that hard homework. Now, if everyone in the country does all that hard homework, then yeah. But without that, then we're talking about a gamble.
So the idea is so again, so this money, the $2,000 a month that they're talking about giving every American. And I asked the question again, when you say every American, what about our neighbors without addresses? What about those homeless people? They get $2,000 too? Who? Because there's some people who are not going to get them. Is the $2,000 that they're talking about going to be tied to income, or just everybody gets $2,000? I mean, one of the things that Yang was talking when he was, touting universal basic income, he was saying everybody gets it. I don't care if you're a millionaire or not. Everybody gets it. So are they talking about everybody getting it? Because if we're going to call it a stimulus, it has to, well, 2 things have to happen. And would you agree with this, caller? One, they have to give you money that they have to give you money that puts you in a position of feeling more secure, right? And then that security will lead to trust, and it'll lead to spending. But if you don't trust, and if you're insecure, even if you got the $2,000, you may hold on to it, may put it in the bank and save it, right? Thinking things are going to get worse. But what they need you to do is they need to pump enough money in here. When I say in here, I mean in the economy, to get people purchasing.
Yes, Eric, and that's one. All right, so to respond to your question earlier, I do believe the economy will rebound because companies around the world that make products and that produce things, this is the largest domestic consumer market in the world. So we consume things here in America. They want to get back to being able to import here. But what the president is trying to do, and why he's ruffled some feathers, is they're trying to bring production back here. So at the end of this crisis, we need to have a family discussion on how we're going to produce here for the people on these shores to be able to, have the economic power, if you will, and not some globalist power all the way over in Australia. I've never been to Australia. Met some nice folks from there, from New York. But what I'm saying is, globalist doesn't help us. A national agenda less ships, the entire American supply chain is losing. So,
yeah,
the economy, I believe, will open back up. And the governors will try to take credit for it, but it'll be too late because the narrative, the messaging that'll come out by Labor Day will be that, look, I worked with these governors through a crisis, and here's what they got, and there'll be a finger-pointing battle. But I'll go back to listening and studying. I'm not an expert. I'm still learning, but that's just my observation. I saw what happened in 16. I don't see how it would be drastically different with a more vulnerable candidate.
Yeah, I'm inclined to agree with you. But thanks for the call. I appreciate your analysis.
Hey guys, to what Shay said about the $2,000, just think of it like this. Okay. The median bank account in the United States of America for a person 35 years old or younger is about $2,600. The median income from a person between 35 and 44 is $3,800. So basically, if the government gives you a check for $2,000, if you're under 35, then you have probably nearly doubled your bank account, doubled your worth, your net worth, right? What you have saved, right? So the man that gets that done is your champion. Now, I'm not, giving props to Donald Trump. What I'm saying is, this is how people will think. They're gonna be like, yo, he just doubled I ain't had that much money in my bank account all year. Is what people will be saying. You're right. I agree with you, Tom. So with that being the understanding, we know what this does. But I know some people will say it's irresponsible, but for me, I'm doing a Richard Pryor. I'm doing a Richard Pryor and Monty Brewster. I'm writing in none of the above. I don't care who's running for president. Neither of the ones that we're looking at right now are worth a damn. And I'm not signing off on any of them just because I say I'm Republican, Democrat, Independent, whatever. Now, can I share something with you guys real quick? I just went over I'm on Facebook right now, and it says from Donald Payne Jr., Good News, New Jersey. FEMA just awarded our state more than $21 million to fight the coronavirus, but the award is only 75% of what the state needs. And he says, I'm fighting to get New Jersey the other $7 million and the next stimulus package.
So here's what I'd like to know. And this is just it. Well,
what I like to know is this.
I want to know what he's doing to fight.
The 21 million we're getting. What about the testing sites? What about people getting tested? Are they going to use some of the money for that?
Well, I want to know how they arrived at that number. I want to know what fight was put forth to get what we got. Why we didn't get more, and then what fight is he going to fight now that he didn't fight before to get the money now that we didn't get? So I want to understand that, because it just sounds like posturing, right? Sounds like, I want you guys to know that I'm down there fighting. What does that mean? I need to, and I think that in this day, and it's not just Donald M. Payne Jr., it's all of them. You should be asking those questions. I mean, I'm fearful that nobody is. I think that they're more like what you're saying, Farrakhan, that they're reading the headlines, right? That $2,000, we're gonna get $2,000, and that's it. They're just sitting in there waiting. They're not out there actively trying to fight for themselves. And so these politicians are just floating out platitudes and nonsense. Anyway.
Absolutely. Hey man, that's a big TV. That's a 65, 80 inch. That's how people see it.
Hey, listen. I'm fearful that
Eric,
if you give people $2,000,
I gotta leave the show. Thank you.
Thank you, Will. I believe if you give people $2,000, you're gonna have a big problem because you're trying to ask people to stay at home. And like you said, Farrakhan, now you're gonna double their wealth. The Walmarts are they're gonna be packed. Are you kidding me?
Walmart and Red Lobster, we're going for them 2 cheese biscuits, and they going to get a damn TV.
Oh my! Listen, I think that $2,000 may work, may be counterproductive in terms of slowing the spread and creating social distancing.
Oh, absolutely. But that's the whole purpose of it, right?
Yeah.
You know, the whole purpose of it is to stimulate the economy, right? It's a stimulus package, right? So what they're going to do with it
get
is
people to
they're
lose
going
their
to
minds.
take it and go out and spend it.
Oh yeah, the whole idea is to get people to. I want you all to listen to the news. Just listen, because they're trying to figure out how to get you to spend. How to spend. Do you know how much the stores have lost in terms of sales? Right? Think about all of the. Remember how when you go in the store, you just have all of the Easter stuff? They lost all of that. They lost all of that. I mean, they lost millions, hundreds of millions of dollars. Right? All of the spring line of clothing. Right? They're losing money. They got inventory problems. They need you to spend. It reminds me, I told you, it reminds me of that movie, that Eddie Murphy movie. Spend more to spend. So that's what they're trying to get you guys. Anyway, on a serious note, back to the serious side of this thing. We need to, I believe, and this is the level of responsibility I'm taking for what we do here. You need to self-distance. You need to pay attention to the science. You need to pay attention to what's going on. And you need to care more than just about yourself. And Farrakhan, I agree with you. If we did this from the beginning, we'd be in better shape. But the longer we're going to be abstinent, right? The longer we're going to dig our heels in and cross our arms like, pouty 5-year-old babies in a corner somewhere because we feel like somebody told us to stay in the house and, I'm in America, I can go outside. As long as we do that, we're going to have these problems. We're going to have all of these problems. Yeah.
It's selfishness.
And like I said, it's gonna come down to. Remember when you were in school, Farrakhan, you had the class clown, and everybody thought that it was really funny the stuff that the class clown was doing, right? Until the teacher said the whole class has to stay after. Now all of a sudden, everybody looked at the class clown a little differently, right? Because you realize it wasn't just the class clown and he or she, being held responsible for what they did. That what that class clown is doing is impacting everybody now. And I'm telling you, the longer, and then remember you say, shut up, man, just be quiet, I want to go home. That's what's going to start happening. You're going to have this mass turning on these folks saying, listen, enough. Stop telling people to go outside. Stop telling people they don't have to listen. Stop telling them we want to go back to work. We want things to open up. We want to get our badass kids out of here and back in the schools. Let's take this call. All right, we got a couple more minutes.
That's what we're getting to. And, the sad part, people always look at things for the short term. Like even right now with, opening up the economy, we want to do that in the short term. We should be looking at the long term effects of this whole process. If we did, then we done, like we already have just said, right? If we had done this, May 12th, right? Not May 12th, March 12th, right? When, I believe North did its official, we're starting our shutdown, right? That was March 12th. If people on March 12th had a totally just locked down in the house for 2 weeks, right now, everybody would be coming out most likely free to do what they want to do because you would have found those cases and isolated them. Again, our government is failing and not stating that. They're just saying, stay in the house, we're going to shut things down, and then now they're playing politics with You know, they're all saying the same thing. We have to get the economy started. But if Trump says we'll start it on the 1st, we're going to just argue with him and say we're going to start it on the 15th. Right? But they're all doing the same thing. And they're just doing it for politics. And sadly, the population of people don't realize that. And I don't know what we're doing until people really see the greater picture.
Yep.
And you know, that's just what it is. Like every day, and it doesn't matter where you go. And I don't like when, now I'm bothered. Like I respect what Raz Baraka did with the Be Still Monday, right? But there was no science to the Be Still Monday. So, and there was no follow-up. Like, you didn't use Be Still Monday to sanitize all public areas. You didn't use Be Still Monday to increase testing so that you could find people. So what becomes the benefit of Be Still Monday, right? Because now you're saying Be Still Monday, you're going to let it all loose Tuesday, right? Is what happens, right? Yeah. So it does, whatever you bottled up, the next day you're just bringing it right out.
Yep.
I hear East Orange is doing that for the weekends now, right? They're going to have some kind of standstill Saturday and Sunday.
Yeah,
right?
So it sounds like it, when I saw the Be Still Monday, it was like you know, like $2 Tuesdays or whatever at the club. Call or go.
Hey, good afternoon or good morning. How you guys doing?
Hey, good morning. We got a couple minutes.
Okay, well, I was just listening to the show, and I mean, a lot of people made some very good points. But most important, Eric, I want to say that mainstream media today has just caught up what we talked about a month and a half ago.
Bam! Yeah, I told you they watched the show. Go ahead.
Well, the economic stimulus, and we know right now that $258 billion for small businesses that set aside money, as well as the $1,200 individual checks, that money that went out. Well, the 250 plus billion was gone 2 days after it actually hit the floor. Now, and that's supposed to take care of small businesses. Now, in researching, they found out that there was a clause in there allowing businesses like hedge funds to go for to take the loan so that they can stay, keep their employees working during the process of this pandemic. So you look at how many hedge funds that don't need to keep people employed and they can work from home and they need all that money. They came to roughly over $170 billion that could have kept a great deal of mom and pop stores open, went to hedge funds. So we asked again, which we talked about a couple of months ago, right? Where does that money go? And how did it happen? Well, let's see, a couple of politicians who are in the pocket and big campaign donators happen to be hedge fund firms.
Right, but look, I started this show by saying this. They are all representatives. We use that term, right? We say our representatives. Or, you'll see next to their name when they're on a show, it says representative such and such. We have to identify who they are representing, because they're not representing us. They are, in fact, representatives, but they're corporate representatives. And we see it over and over and over again, which is why I'm saying, even with Donald M. Payne Jr., when he's talking about that we got this money, well, I want to know what he did to get the money, because he said we got it, right? And then when he says that he's fighting for more, I want to know what specifically he's doing. See, because if he's fighting, we should be in the fight with him, right? If he said, listen, guys, we didn't get as much money as we should have gotten. This is what we should have gotten, and these are the reasons why we should have gotten them. And you know what? I want you to join me in this fight to get more money. Sign this petition. Let them know that you're with me. I'm going back down to Washington to get our check. That's not what he said, right?
Once again, you know what that's called? Political platitude.
Yes, I know. But I just I want people to understand that that's what's going on. So as soon as Will read that to me, I just thought how god-awful that was.
Yeah. See, once again, we're falling victim to the okie doke. the smoke and mirrors. Everybody is so, riled up and fired up and looking forward to getting their $1,200 and realizing that we have to pay over $2 trillion back to the government for $1,200. So not only did we get pimped, but we got pimped cheap. People have to wake up and understand that, you know what, this new norm, we've got to clean the slate. We need new politicians. We need to get these people out. These people who are giving plaudits to the people to make themselves seem important, that they're fighting for you, and all that is lip service, and they do nothing. They have to go. It is no longer time for conversations and menial bullcrap studies of what we already know. Now is the time for America to take action. And I hope that people remember this coming November in the upcoming elections. I hope you remember this coming June in the primary elections. I hope that you stand up and, register to vote so that you can get your mail-in ballots and mail them in early. It is time that we stand up for ourselves to make a change. We have to be the heroes that we need in our lives.
I don't think it's going to happen. But I don't. I'm sorry. I don't think it's going to happen. Listen, I don't. I think that we kind of pretty much summed it up. People are going to wait. They got the $1,200 check. They probably realize right now by the time. Listen. At the point that the government said they were going to give them a $1,200 check, they had already spent the check. It was already spent before it even got to them. So that check's gone. Now they want more, right? And they're going to want more. And the government's they're gonna have to figure something out, because if we're not doing adequate testing, if we can't, if we're unable to properly identify the people that you've been around, if you contracted it or if you have symptomatic, if we can't do that, and if we haven't really perfected the art of isolation, right, a lot of these things can't open. And if they don't open, then we have financial problems and they have to be resolved. Otherwise, there's complete collapse. So
let's look at the game of chess, Eric. We can open it because we're not testing anybody to find out who has it, or there's not enough tests to test anybody to get an actual good data in terms of hotspots. So therefore, it's safe to open up because nobody has it. Nobody has it because nobody got tested. So now you get your $1,200 check and you go out there and you die.
Yeah. Well, Will, I want to say to my man, Will Hathaway, if you get in another Uber or Lyft, Will, make sure that they have, make sure that the driver's wearing a mask. Do that for me. You're a good friend of mine, and I want you to take care of yourself. Anyway, guys, thank you all for tuning in and watching. We'll catch you tomorrow.
All right. God bless everyone. So, Eric, you want to hear my projections for the next